Hello, welcome to the second part, 2.2 of the kidnapping prank, because I can't stop writing this. This honestly has me in a chokehold and I don't know what to do. And it is to my mortifying discovery, this is not the last of it. There is going to be a 2.3. Someone send help. Again, the audio quality is not going to be 100% because my throat is still not at 100%. And I can't just wait until it gets better because then it's going to be ages until I post again, so I don't really care anymore. And I hope that you don't care. Anyways, let's not hold you up any longer. There is a lot more content warnings, so definitely do look for those in between the description and at the beginning of this video. I'm actually really excited for you all to see this, so let's get to it. Hello my lovely viewers. Looking for some affordable and good quality anime merch? Want to support your favorite Haikyuu team or join UA? What about joining the Straw Hat Pirates for an adventure or two? Want to join the Black Wolves or the Fairy Tale Guild? Well, this site has that and so much more. Use my discount code and receive 10% off your entire order. Link and code is in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Everything was eerily silent after the wicked sneer bounced off the walls of the abandoned building. Sugawara fought against his restraints, ignoring the blistering pain in his shoulder. The excruciation made his skin feel like it was bubbling and boiling alive. He could almost picture the smell invading his nostrils. The officer surveyed his surroundings, finding anything he could use to his advantage, whether it was a weapon or their weakness. Do you seriously think you can try to escape me? It's humoring, honestly. In fact, it excites me. Daichi cringed, watching the latter lick his lips as if he was preparing for his next meal. All the more reason to get Suga out of here. He didn't know the kidnapper's plans, nor did he want to. To the right of him, the brunette spotted an old emergency axe that was initially meant for firefighters whenever this building was full of life. Now it was left abandoned, just as each of the rooms were. Come on, now you're really starting to piss me off. In one swift movement, Daichi charged right towards the man and shoved him to the side by ramming his elbow into his gut and punched through the glass case around the axe, sending shards flying everywhere. Finally, with the weapon in hand, the cop held it out in front of him in self-defense. I don't want to have to use this. Just let him go and none of us will get hurt. While he could theoretically charge at him like a madman, Daichi had morals and would rather everyone make it out alive, even if it did mean Suga's kidnapper would justifiably rot behind bars. Taking a life was something Daichi never wanted to do and was forced to do one time before when the criminal charged at him. If Daichi didn't take their life, his would have easily been taken. A devilish screech of laughter came from the kidnapper, as if he wasn't fazed one bit Daichi had the upper hand. The brunette took a step back, tightening his grip around the handle of the axe. Before he had any time to blink, the kidnapper hurled towards him, officially starting the fight. It seemed talking his way out of bloodshed was out of the question. No matter what, he had to win. If he didn't, Koji would. A searing convulsion shot through his nerves as soon as a hidden glint of steel pierced through his skin, getting lodged in between his ribs. The pain was delayed at first, until he sucked in a torturous first breath of air. His lungs screamed in agony, like as if he was the fool for thinking he was actually allowed to breathe. All of the muscles in his body begged to give out and rest, yet the adrenaline coursing through his veins and the fierce pounding in his heart Daichi mustered all the strength he could and swung the axe down, slashing the kidnapper's shoulder and chest. The cop stumbled backwards until his back hit the wall and slid down it, leaving a trail of crimson on the old wall. He wheezed, each breath nearly making him black out from the torment. The knife was still lodged in between his ribs, deep inside his flesh. The only reason why he wasn't bleeding out was because the knife was keeping it all in his body. Yet, even that couldn't contain it all. Koshi. Just when he thought breathing was the most agonizing thing he could experience in that moment, speaking proved to be even worse. Daichi? The brunette's heart nearly shattered, hearing just how small his lover's voice sounded. If only he could take away all of his pain. What's going on? Are you okay? Rustling was heard on the other side of the door, the rattling of chains. Daichi grasped the stab wound, trying to capture what life he had left. Listen, I can't open the door right now, but there's help on the way. Don't be scared. You're safe. The cop muttered a useless curse that fell on deaf ears once he noticed just how dark it had gotten. It wasn't the setting sun, but him. The shattered glass and debris on the floor dulled and blurred. His voice trailed off, lacking the normal confidence he typically wore. Daichi? His hold on the wound weakened, and his hand went limp on the worn-out cement, doused in a dark crimson red. I'm here. This wasn't good. Koshi wasn't even out yet. He was still tied up, and who knows what type of state. He couldn't fade. Not now. How long until backup arrived? How much longer did Sugawara have to wait until he would be free? Would he still be alive when they got there? The rattling of Sugawara trying to break free from his restraints seemed to muffle once his ears started ringing. Are you hurt? Daichi? Daichi, answer me! The screaming only accumulated in volume and desperation, but the ringing in his ears only persisted until even that wasn't heard. Fear was the one thing that kept him alive, working in such a dangerous field. Fear gave him a reason to push forward and fight. This was a different type of fear. The fear that was normalized as a cop was not being able to stop someone from jumping, or having to be the one that tells family member that their loved ones didn't make it. That was always the worst. Never once did his own life become a factor. Of course he knew it would always be a possibility he'd stumble too far and get into serious trouble, but actually facing death? This was completely different. It wasn't dying specifically he was terrified of. It was the fact if he'd die, Koshi would be all alone. He'd never get to see him again. You'll be okay. Everything will be fine. The more he slashed against the wall, the more the knife dug deeper into his skin, puncturing his lungs. The stinging sensation of iron boiled up his throat with a bite of vengeance. Great. Everything is all fuzzy now. Daichi tried to zone into his surroundings, and even used Sugawara's screams in the background as an anchor, but I couldn't stop the life from exiting his body. He wished he could have at least seen Koshi and made sure he was okay, but the amount of blood coming from his wound prevented him from moving. Soon enough, he would be dead. Whether or not backup arrived on time, that was purely up to them. And them alone. Daichi? It felt as if his heart had been torn from his chest once the reply ceased from the cop, and only bitter silence responded. More gruesome pops echoed in the room from his shoulder, trying desperately to yank himself free from the restraints. No, 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 no. A loud clatter coming from the other side of the door, and a horde of footsteps followed. It was only then the teacher stilled. What was going on? He could only trust his ears, but his ears couldn't tell if the imposter was friend or foe. If it was foe, what about Daichi? The cop had mentioned that help would be arriving, but he couldn't afford to get his hopes up. Sugawara resumed yanking on the ropes when the door of his confinements busted open. A barrage of men loomed inside the room with weapons of their own. A whimper slipped from his lips, and instinctively ducked back beneath the pipe, unable to make out their uniforms. He was blinded by fear. The teacher's hazel eyes were widened in horror when he saw two slumped bodies just outside the room. One was the man he'd gone paralyzed in fear of. His kidnapper was limp on the ground, covered in a crimson liquid with a bloodied axe still sticking out of his shoulder. The sight was almost enough to make him lurch forward and vomit. That was until his eyes trained back to Daichi. He remembered the last time they'd spoken in person, before the phone call, and even before class that started that morning. Just this morning, everything had been perfect. They had wakened in bed together, their lips already forming into smiles of admiration and euphoria. They were in each other's arms, warm and content. They were safe. Nothing could touch them there. So, why did Daichi look so pale? The cop's hand lay limp in the doorway, saturated in his own blood pooling around him. Other fellow cops were surrounding him, trying desperately to stabilize him, applying pressure to the wound where a dagger still buried deep inside his chest. Daichi? He'd been so absorbed in his thoughts, he didn't notice someone approach him, and by then his restraints were already taken off. The officer spoke to him, yet he couldn't hear anything. His gaze remained glued to his lover that was barely clinging to life. An officer stepped in front of him, blocking his line of sight towards the brunette. "Sir, are you hurt anywhere?" It was only then he stepped into action. His body was no longer on autopilot. Sugawara lunged towards Daichi and wrestled in the officer's arms, who intervened and held him back. "No, Daichi!" "Sir, please, you need to remain calm. You're safe now. We will get you and Sawamoto the care that you need, so..." The adrenaline was wearing off. The teacher could fully feel the extent of his injuries. His body begged him to stop. His heart yearned for Daichi, and his mind remained torn, collapsing from the strain of it all. Then everything became dark. Alright, that officially wraps up this part, and honestly, it's really crazy how this little bonus side of DaiSuga was only supposed to extend to one part, but now it's not only one part, it's not two parts, it's suddenly three. Someone stop me. Any case, I sincerely hope that you all enjoyed this. I am expecting a lot of comments. A lot of feedback in the comments, cursing me. I keep on leaving this with a cliffhanger. I promise there will only be one part. Although, I probably shouldn't promise that because I promised that 2 times ago. Oh my gosh, that's actually really bad. If you're just a normal watcher and you want to go ahead and jump ahead, you should definitely totally become a member. Yeah. Thank you to all of the brand new deckers that we have gotten in the past. How long have I been gone? 2 weeks? 2-3 weeks? Oh my gosh, that's terrible. But thank you so much. You guys are amazing. Again, so sorry about all the released content. I promise I'm trying to figure it out. But yeah, I will see you all later.